Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So I want to talk about what happened over the weekend, of course, but I want to show you guys evidence from a different perspective than what you may have been hearing on mainstream media about how we got here and why Republicans, why the right-wing extremists, I say, are to blame for Donald Trump's attempted assassination. As you guys all know by now, a 20-year-old man named Thomas Matthews Crooks has been identified as the attempted assassin. It happened in Pennsylvania over the weekend. He sadly killed one man who was seated behind Trump. He wounded two others. They were in critical conditions. They are supposedly stable at this time. Trump was hit in the upper right part of his ear, or upper part of his right ear, I should say. He didn't experience any life-threatening injuries, though. And when they searched the suspects, the man who attempted the assassination, I shouldn't even say suspect, when they searched his car, they found bomb-making materials. They also found some bomb-making materials at his home. He is a registered Republican. He did donate $15 to a progressive group, but that was when he was only 17 years old. And one of his classmates told a news outlet, this is a guy who lived near him, he went to school with him, he said Crooks was relentlessly bullied at school. News outlets say he had no social media accounts, at least none that they've been able to identify yet. So we have no idea, haven't been able to identify what his political beliefs were. Safe to say he wasn't a Trump fan, right? I think we know that much. So again, how did we get here? How did our country get to this point? Republicans, as you probably know by now, they immediately started blaming the left, Joe Biden, but they really need to go look in the mirror because they are the ones who ignited the flames of hatred, them and Donald Trump, and all of the division in this country long before Biden became president. Even before Trump came on the scene. So you can even go back further than that, even back further than Trump, when he came on the scene as a political figure. And I have proof. So settle in, grab a frosty beverage, because I have a lot of proof to share with you all. So let's start with the hatred and the implied violence towards Barack Obama. From the time Obama started running for president, racist effigies were found showing Obama being hung. So here's just some of the ones that I found just from a cursory internet search. Ohio resident Mike Lunsford, he hung an Obama effigy in his front yard. Lunsford readily admitted too, oh yeah, I'm against Obama because he's black. Made no bones about it. That same year, as you guys see here, there was a life-size cardboard cutout of Obama that was hung from a tree on the campus of a quote-unquote Christian university. And there was a message that they taped to that cutout, and it said, Act 6 reject. So they were referencing a scholarship program called Act 6 that was meant to increase minority and low-income student attendance at Christian colleges. How Christian of them, right? Also, in 2008, another Obama likeness was hung on a tree at the University of Kentucky. Down in Florida, a restaurant owner wrote the words white power on her staff memos and KKK on her employee time cards. And she threatened her black employees that she would terminate them if they dared to vote for Obama. She blamed Fox News, by the way. Too much Fox News. On the night of 2008, the election, Obama, a sign of his, an Obama sign, I should say, not his, but someone in the neighborhood, it was vandalized. A black church in Massachusetts was burnt down, and a black family found 2 pizza boxes on their lawn filled with human feces. So yeah, Republicans sure do like to spread their shit around, don't they? Literally and figuratively. Following Obama's election, A boy, young boy in school, on a school bus, I should say, he was in Georgia. He told one of his classmates on that bus that he hoped Obama would be assassinated. Wonder where he got that from, right? Then in Maine, a general store openly took bets during this time. They called it the Osama Obama shotgun pool. So this pool was for customers to bet $1 to guess when Obama would be assassinated. And someone wrote on the bottom of the sign for this pool, quote, "Let's hope someone wins." 2009, a man with an Obama sticker on the back of his car was jumped and beaten at a gas station in Louisiana. Jumped by multiple men, multiple white men, because again, you know, they can't take on a black man by themselves. They only have courage when it's like 3-on-1, 5-on-1, 10-on-1. Then they're all kinds of courageous, right? And they've found their balls all of a sudden. So they broke his nose. They fractured his eye socket, which required surgery. And they were screaming while they were doing it, just to make sure he knew why, quote, "Fuck Obama, an N-word president." Now, of course, they actually used the vile word. They didn't say N-word. The effigies continued, of course, over the years. There was a doll labeled Obama that was found hanging in the stairwell of a Washington State high school. In 2010, another Obama effigy was hung outside a store in Georgia. Fast forward to 2012. I mean, there were more in between this, but I'm not going to bore you with all of them. 2012, a Utah man set up a Halloween display. It was two life-size dummies. One was wearing a Mitt Romney mask, and it was sitting in a chair. That dummy was holding the end of a rope. Then the rope was draped over a tree branch. The other end of that rope was tied around the other dummy's neck, which had an Obama mask on it. That same year, a Florida pastor named Terry Jones, another great Christian, set up a gallows and a rope with an Obama effigy hanging outside of Dove World Outreach Center. Real man of God right there, folks. Same year, an Alabama resident set up a dummy with an Obama mask on it, put it on his front porch with a sign that read, "Pray for assassin." This continued on throughout the country and all the way up until Obama's presidency, even after his presidency ended. So in January of 2020, this was shortly before, as we all know, Joe Biden was elected. Donald Trump's term was coming to an end. There was a former Mesa County Republican. So this is in Mesa County, Colorado. A Republican chairperson posted a meme online showing Donald Trump placing a noose around Obama's neck. Yeah. Several years ago, so let's bring it more current, right? Several years ago, I shared with all of you on this show that a Trump supporter set up a website called Enemies of the People. On that site, they posted all of the personal data for elected officials and companies who they blamed for, quote, election interference. And it was implied on this site that they wanted people and companies to be targeted. And this was all before really unstable MAGA nuts became members of Congress. So remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene was running for office? Remember she ran ads showing her shooting at cutout figures of the squad or pictures of the squad from the Democratic Party? Yeah. And her 2018-2019 social media posts included comments about killing Democrats. So she specifically named like people like Nancy Pelosi. And then there was this video of Greene more recently. Check this out.
Yeah, go Trump!
So for anyone listening on the podcast, Greene was standing on a street corner where she belongs. And she's holding a sign that says, "Honk if you want a bloodbath." But it's the left inciting violence, right? There was also this incident with Republican Congressman Paul Gosar, you might remember. This was from a few years back. He posted a video online showing a cartoon character killing Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Democratic lawmaker, AOC, and also President Biden. There have also been, as you guys know, as I've shared with you, a ton of threats coming from the right wing in the general public. So here's just a few of the overt threats that were made online after the 2020 election. I've blocked their usernames to protect the guilty. No, but seriously, I'm not trying to dox any of these people, unlike them. But I'm going to read, for all of these comments for anyone listening on the podcast, or if you can't make out the words, if it's too small. So the first one here says, in part, quote, DC will burn to the ground. Start at the hashtag SCOTUS, then get the commies, all of them. Lynchings coming. The next one here says, quote, kill those you can get to locally to start with. Leave no trace. It all starts with one. This next one says, quote, I guess it's time we appeal to the highest court. Browning, Colt, Smith, and Wesson. Next up is, quote, we all need to descend on the inauguration and mow them down. Pelosi, Schumer, corrupt chicken shit judges, 2 of Congress, I don't know what that means. These shots think they have won, but they have set their death sentences and their shit families. I am reading these as they were written, so no punctuation in many cases, misspellings, all kinds of stuff, as you would expect. Next is, quote, the tyranny happening in America right now can only be stopped with violence. It is past time to, quote unquote, remove these people from our government. Hashtag sniper, hashtag civil war, hashtag vote Trump 2020. This next one says, quote, kill all Democrats and rhinos. And another one says, quote, to all liberals, this ain't a video game. There's many, many vets that are gonna enjoy blowing your brains out. Many of us can't wait. Just thought you'd like to know that. I have a bunch more for you, a bunch more examples that I saved after the 2020 election, but you guys get the idea. And let's not forget, these haven't all been empty threats. It's not like these people are just posting stuff online and nothing is happening in the real world. Neo-Nazis, might I remind you, marched through the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia. One of them ran over counter-protesters. They injured dozens of people. They killed a woman. They killed Heather Heyer. Others were there beating counter-protesters nearly to death. A Trump supporter also stormed the Ohio FBI office, opened fire. Luckily, there was bulletproof glass. That was after Mar-a-Lago was searched for classified documents. QAnon MAGA conspiracy theorist David DePape, you all know, recently was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison for attacking Nancy Pelosi's 82-year-old husband with a hammer, cracked his skull open, required surgery. There have been hundreds, maybe even thousands of threats issued against lawmakers, judges, election workers. I've shared a bunch of them with you, all related to Donald Trump, all made by MAGA men and women. MAGA Man, might recall this one, MAGA Man Caesar Sayoc, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison years ago because he mailed pipe bombs to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, a bunch of other Democrats, all people who he perceived to be against Donald Trump, right? How many race-based mass shootings have we seen? How many over the past 8 to 10 years? And the shooters leave manifestos filled with right-wing hate and propaganda, always about Black and brown people. How many Proud Boys have we seen arrested or at least convicted for violence against the left? They always claim, oh, it was self-defense, and then the video evidence comes out, and oh no, what do you know? They actually started it. And remember this? Remember the Trump train attack on a Texas highway just prior to the 2020 election? If you don't know about this, this is where Trump supporters surrounded a Biden-Harris bus and tried to run them off the road. They were brandishing weapons at the people on that bus. One of these cars, one of these Trump train vehicles, a lifted truck, slammed into a staffer's car, completely destroyed the side of the car. What about the militia plot in Michigan to kidnap and murder Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer? Landed numerous men in prison. Of course, we can't, have a complete list without January 6th. Who can forget that, right? The violent, brutal attack at the Capitol that resulted in the death of numerous police officers, including a bunch, like a handful, who took their own lives because they suffered traumatic brain injuries at the hands of Trump's terrorists. Just last week, you had one of Trump's Project 2025 leaders saying, "We are in the process," this is a direct quote, "we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be." What about Mark Robinson, guy who's running for governor in North Carolina? Just last month, he went to a church and gave a speech and said, "Some people need killing." Again, a direct quote. And here's the thing. If the roles were reversed, if this was Biden who had almost been shot and killed last Saturday, we know how this would be going down right now. The right would be cheering. They would be praising the gunman. They would be calling him a patriot. Alex Jones would be out telling his audience that the assassination attempt was fake. He would be calling everyone there a crisis actor. Other people on the right would be accusing Biden of having a gay love affair with the shooter, right? Just like what they did with Paul Pelosi. They'd be calling it a deep state psyop, just like they did with January 6th, all these other right-wing violent attacks. Over and over again, the right has denied, deflected, mocked, ridiculed anyone and everyone who's been threatened, everyone who's been physically harmed by MAGA maniacs. They readily believe and parrot every single conspiracy theory and excuse that's floated out there because they don't want to have to reckon with the psychos on their own side. Make no mistake, though, MAGA and Trump are responsible. They are responsible for the attempt on Donald Trump's life. You cannot keep ratcheting up the violence and the rhetoric and expect it to not blow back on you at some point. I'm not justifying what happened. I don't agree with what this would-be assassin did. Not only because I don't believe that violence is justified unless your life or the life of someone you love is in danger, but also because I don't want to make Trump into more of a martyr than he already is. He's already so good at being a crybaby and playing the martyr. And Trump's ego, I think, came back to bite him in this situation. Remember what Trump said, allegedly, quote unquote, on January 6th? Remember Cassidy Hutchinson, who was an aide to Trump, very close with him in the White House? She testified that on January 6th, when his supporters were trying to come in to see him at the Ellipse, they were being stopped. And some of them were walking away and not entering the Ellipse because they had weapons on them. They were trying to go through the magnetometers and they weren't allowed to because they found weapons on them. And Trump supposedly said, "Take the fucking mags away, let my people in, they're not here to hurt me." That has always struck me as one of the more damning statements that he made that day, one of the more damning pieces of evidence that we have against him. He knew they had weapons, but he said, "They're not here to hurt me." Really? Really? So who did he think they were there to hurt? And why was he okay with that? Right? But Trump falsely believes everyone loves him. Everybody out there loves me. We're the silent majority. I mean, it's part of his coping mechanism, I guess, because he has parents who, or had parents who clearly didn't care for him, and then the right just believes it and they just parrot it, as always. So he obviously never thought anyone was going to try to off him at a rally, right? And especially a fellow Republican. Ew. Yeah. In any case, as I said, if the right wants to know how this happened, if they want to know who's to blame, they just need to go look in the mirror. And Melania Trump, she can just miss me with her BS statement calling for everyone to, quote, ascend above the hate. Where were her pleas for ascension after all of these incidents that I just laid out? She was silent when people were murdered by her husband's followers. Now that violence has come to their doorstep, they want to ascend above the hate. They pushed hate for years. They incited hate. They welcomed the hate as long as it was directed at someone else, right? Donald Trump Jr., do you remember? He posted a picture on Twitter, I think it was, after Paul Pelosi was attacked. He posted a picture of a pair of underwear and a hammer and said something to the effect of, oh, got my Paul Pelosi outfit or costume for Halloween. Maybe, if the left was as low as they are, maybe we would post a bloody white dress shirt with a fake bloody ear and one shoe, right? Got my Donald Trump Halloween costume ready. Yeah, so Melania can shut the hell up. Not buying it for a second. Not buying even that she's upset that her husband was shot at on Saturday. Maybe she's upset that he's still here. I would buy that because there's a lot of money in it for her. But anyway, I'm sure there'll be people who are pissed off that I'm making these comments. But here's the thing. I'm not all of a sudden going to be like mainstream media and go, oh, I'm so glad that Donald Trump is doing so well and, that he didn't get seriously hurt. I'm sorry that the other people who were there got hurt. I'm sorry that there is a man dead. But I'm not going to pretend that Donald Trump is some great guy. Because you know what? Last week, we were talking about how he's going to end democracy. Last week, we were talking finally about the alleged rape case against him, about the woman who filed a rape case against him in 2016 and claims that he raped her when she was 13 years old. So no, I'm not going to all of a sudden say how great it is that someone like that, someone who has been found liable of sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll and has been accused by more than 24 other women, I'm not going to pretend that, oh, it's such a great thing that he's fine. I'm not going to be phony like everybody else. So if that offends people, oh well, right? All right, guys, I will let you all know when or if I hear more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please please share this video so other people understand where this all originated, where it is still coming from, which I'm going to talk about in another video coming up. Love you all. If you can donate, truly appreciate it. Take care. Talk with you soon.